This is unrelated to the Browns, but it's kind of related to the Browns. Aaron Glenn, head coach of the Jets. You asked me, I'm going to answer this, and then we're going to move on with a question about should we have been meaner yesterday, which I want to ask people. There's haters out there. They think that this is a waste of time, and they're trying to take us all to task. They're going after our afternoon show, which I will not stand for. I'm very defensive of the guys in the afternoon. I feel like the mother hen of this station. You ain't going to go after my children, my guys. We'll talk about that here in a moment. However, Aaron Glenn fired his defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks. Aaron Glenn was asked about it. Here's Aaron Glenn.
I relieved Steve Wilks from his duties this morning as our defensive coordinator. This decision that I made late last night, and I talked to him this morning, and I felt like it was the best decision for the organization at this time. And I've said this all along, that I'm evaluating players, I'm evaluating coaches, I'm evaluating myself, and I just felt like this was the best decision for right now for the team and for this organization.
You asked me what after that? Do you remember?
Well, that's a coach having a rough season that just fired a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been wondering all season long, where was that going to be? When was that going to happen?
I have to throw two things.
Was it going to happen?
A few things here. Let me tell you a couple treat things here. First thing is, I don't think anybody's getting fired until the end of the season. So every Sunday, they're not going to win for the rest of the season. I think they're finishing 3-14. So every Sunday night, when we talk about how change needs to be made, it ain't going to happen until the final Sunday night, possibly. And that's possibly. So guys, I can scream and yell and stomp and pound and everything. I don't think anybody's going anywhere until the end of the year. If they haven't gone anywhere, I mean, you got guys who can't get their cards in their QB wristband. You got 2 penalties before you can even snap a ball. You're getting delay of game calls, and this is in one game. I mean, think about the cavalcade of silliness that's gone on here over this last year. They ain't gone anywhere yet. They ain't going anywhere until the end of the year. So you have that. Second thing is I think he might just be friends with Bubba Ventrone, and he may know that this could be the end of it after this year. He's not going to let go of a guy he may need in the future. That does not very many guys. There's guys who have been friends with each other and things just kind of didn't go very well. Nobody takes it well. They really don't. And so maybe he feels that he's just not going to do it because maybe Bubba Ventrone will be on his staff in the future. Good luck. Maybe he feels that he will work for Bubba Ventrone in the future. He may feel that way, and he's just not going to do that right now. Yeah, he's not going to do it. If he thinks that this is the end for him, he's not going to make that move right now. Third thing is, do we even know if it's his call?
We do not know.
You had it on pretty good authority that the Alex Van Pelt deal wasn't his call, right?
Yeah, we had talked about this, in past off seasons. Like, has Stefanski amassed more power? Is it the same power? Has he lost power? And I think pretty clearly, right? Like this, the whole upheaval at special teams coach to begin with, how Bubba ended up here, was a little bizarre, and we'd heard some things behind the scenes on that led me to believe that wasn't the coach's call either. So. If the coach doesn't really have any of that power, and you have people above him making those decisions, then is that the reason why we can't really talk accountability here realistically?
Exactly.
Because the coach can't just go fire the people he wants to fire?
Which is, I think that sets everybody off because you're going, how can I? Well, I think everybody's just going to hold him accountable anyway because he's the head coach. But I think what bothers the fans so much is that the fans seem to be the only ones holding anybody accountable for any of this. And I think that they are totally right within their reason to do so because this has not been good. But you go back to, remember, Ventrone a couple of weeks ago in that press conference on that Thursday. Again, there was that talk about that roster. And to me, that's a veiled shot at Andrew Berry. And I think a lot of people agreed with me on that. And so if you're taking veiled shots there at your general manager, who has not spoken this year, but if you're taking veiled shots at your general manager and you look at what Mike Tomlin said and a couple of other things that Mike Vrabel and what he had mentioned, I think a lot of them guys are looking at it going, well, what did you do here? And there's going to be a hell of a discovery here over the next few years about how this all went down and all the other stuff. But I think that's part of the reason where you get frustrated on Sundays, and now it's just become normal and expected. I was not surprised. Giving up a 52-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff, and I was just like, yeah, that's normal. That's normal and expected.
Kenny, I'm stunned when it's the opposite. When we actually do our job on special teams.
It's true. But the thing is you expect to be let down, and I was let down. It's spectacular. And you're right. You expect it to go badly. To the point where I can't believe it went okay. I can't believe this actually. And your one guy, Myles Garrett, gets a hand on the ball. Okay, well, he's the best player in defensive history on the Cleveland Browns. So do I give him credit for that?
And so that's Kenny. That's why I'm very worried. Bigger picture stuff. And we talked to death about the coach and everything yesterday. When you see other coaches are starting to fire assistants and guys are let go even towards the finish line here. This makes me really nervous about the end of the year for guys that you want to evaluate. And it's like, Quinshon Judkins, second half of the season has been a lost season. Can't evaluate him. Can't do anything with him. They have no chance.
He's getting smacked before the line of scrimmage, beyond the line of scrimmage.
And now Shedeur. Shedeur, how much of a chance is he going to have against Buffalo this week? Or against Pittsburgh the following week?
Not very.
Pittsburgh, who needs these games.
Not very.
Obviously, Buffalo needs this game.
He had a guard who had to come into that football game. Now, I know that the offensive line by the numbers wasn't that bad. I get that.
Yeah, they did give him time to throw, but still was not a good offensive line.
You also had to have an offensive lineman come in who you've just let go of to bring back Jamari Thrash.
Yes.
I mean, that's what your offensive line.
Yeah.
That's how important offensive line is, and that's how far behind you are on that. Go ahead.
So all I'm saying is, this is going to, I can only see this getting uglier. We were talking a few weeks ago, like when Shedeur kind of injected some energy around the whole program and around the city, which he undoubtedly did. And you could tell there's some stuff there in the locker room that there's a gravity to him and people really like him. But that wears off really quick if you have guys starting to try to figure out where their next destination is. Guys starting to dreaded, hey, got to put stuff on tape. That you're not playing for each other now. You're not.
It's a giant workout. Sorry, I was highlighting some giant
sucks,
workout.
Kenny, which sucks because Shedeur, I don't want to. This is going to sound over the top. Shedeur's playing for his career here. As a fifth round pick, and not knowing who the coach or the organization is going to be, who's going to be in leadership here. Shedeur needs these games to go well. He needs these games desperately to go well. And what chance does he have when all we're really playing for here at the end is Myles Garrett getting the sack record?
Myles Garrett getting the sack record. I mean, I don't need to see very much else. I'm excited about Carson Schlesinger and Harold Fannin Jr.
By the way,
yeah, of course he is.
He was laying down. We didn't talk about this yesterday. There was a sequence where I thought it was in the second quarter where he was laying. It might have been the third. He was laying down in the end zone after a play down by the goal line. And I was waiting for the trainers. They do the cutaways. And I'm like, I expect there to be a stoppage and trainers to come in. He got up again and played, and I think he was even part of the play. Mm-hmm. And then he was down again, and guys were kind of helping him up. And I'm like, he shouldn't be playing right now.
No, he shouldn't.
Carson should be shut down.
Well, no,
but he's not going to.
He had that ankle injury, and it was his good fortune to happen right before the bye week. And people thought he was going to be out. Everybody thought he was going to be out, and he's played in every single game.
Somehow played. Amazing.
He's been very tough.
And by the way, those are the guys that whoever is going to be running this thing. Those are the guys over time that you need in the locker room that are going to be big, that put it all out there. Even maybe against better judgment, and also can make all the plays. Those are the types of guys that can truly lead, because in the past we've had guys that can only do one. Maybe they're leaders, but they can't play. Remember when Jameis Winston seemed like he was the leader of the team, and it's like not even the starting quarterback? That's weird. That doesn't really work in most in most organizations. So here we are. That's why I'm just saying I am nervous. It's a long way to get back to, hey, another team just fired their coach and wanted accountability at the end of the year. But you have been without that all year.
But that's a guy in his first year. And he's probably not going anywhere at the end of this year. So he probably only has one more year to really start to get it going, because they're going to be in a position to get better this year. So he had to make changes now. So if that was a marriage that was forced upon him or something like that, maybe it was. Or maybe he just thought, you know what, a change needs to be made. We need to go in the right direction. Everything needs to be fixed now. But he has the power to make that decision. I don't know if Kevin does. And at this point, at 3-11, which is about to be 3-14 at the end of the year, and 6-26 for the last 2 years, you probably know what's on the wall. And if you know what's on the wall, are you going to burn bridges with future coworkers? And I don't know if he would. I don't think he would. Especially where, again, read the tea leaves, guys. A lot of people are just trying, and this is a giant fat excuse. A lot of people are trying to blame the roster makeup here. And so it makes me believe, okay, well, you guys know why you guys are in Hawk on this roster. Everybody in the world knows. Was he on board with that? Because the story you guys all told was that, hey, Deshaun took one look at that offense and said, I got to be a part of that. Was he really on board with that? You think wild things when you're 3-11 and your team ain't going anywhere. Should we have been harder on Shedeur yesterday? Several people think we should have been.
So I thought we were appropriately hard, which was he played terrible. He played like a fifth-round pick. He had great moments, right? He had really good moments. And I admired how he battled despite taking the shots and the interceptions. And I don't think many quarterbacks could have performed well under those circumstances.
Okay.
So I thought that was the fair take yesterday.
So then why do people think that we should have been harder on him yesterday? Is it just no?
It's because of Mendoza.
Guys.
It's because they have a high draft pick. That's what it is. Because I'm dealing with these people too. Every time I put out anything, kind of having fun with the Shedeur fans, and a lot of people that I don't want to be associated with, they're like, "You're right, Lima's right."
So like
this guy doesn't belong in the NFL, and I'm like, that's not what I'm saying.
So
like Shedeur's actually been better than I thought he would be.
I know what's happening here. So there's some of us who think that we need to be mean. Even meaner about Dylan Gabriel, so we never do the Dylan Gabriel thing again. But now we have to be meaner about Shedeur, so we make sure that we just take Fernando Mendoza and that's it. If you have the chance to draft Fernando,
Shedeur doesn't get in the way of either him or Dante Moore if he's available. And there was some reporting yesterday that said
it's like that Drake video where I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, no, I don't have to be mean to Shedeur to know that. I don't need to say something I don't mean to make sure that the Browns take Fernando Mendoza if they get the number 1 pick or they're in a position to take Fernando Mendoza, do I? 6'5".
It should just play out.
He's consensus number 1. Like, if they're in the position, I just accept they're going to take him. It's the Browns. They're obsessed with the quarterback. They're going to go after the quarterback. I can give you all the reasons and all the things and all the other. Well, you do need offensive linemen, and you do need wide receivers, and you do always need good D linemen, and you do need good safeties. You need all these things, but obviously you need a quarterback. I can be nice to Shedeur, but I'm not going to affix unrealistic expectations on Shedeur Sanders either. I'm not going to do that, Anthony. So there's no point. I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to be overly flowery because I think that the guys. I'm not taking a shot at you guys. Don't take it that way. But I think some people have heard the afternoon and think that they've been overly flowery towards Shedeur yesterday.
Yesterday I did listen, and they were really good. I thought they were talking about Rudy for a second. I thought the Rudy music was going to play in the background.
I guess I didn't hear that.
The way they talked about the courage of Shedeur, and it's like I gave him credit for getting back up and taking those hits, but eventually it's the NFL. Like we don't do that for every quarterback. So yeah, we don't do that for Gardner Minshew.
No.
When he takes all the shots, he still gets up and plays well.
He's a pro. He knows what he's got to do. He gets up. He's always been tough, and we've always said guys are tough, but just because they're tough doesn't mean they can play the position. I was just trying to be understanding of the situation. I don't think I need to overly romanticize his performance on Sunday. I thought it was a pretty rough performance, but he had to stay in there and trying to deliver for them.
The week before against Tennessee,
he was really, really good.
I thought he was good. I thought he was
really good.
I thought he really struggled during portions of that game, and then once they were down 2 scores, he had some amazing passes. But I'm not putting the Tennessee game in the Hall of Fame the way I felt like I heard the afternoon show. I thought they got a little carried away.
Well, if you're
Jonathan kept saying that's just not supposed to happen. What he did against Tennessee, I'm like, I see it happen all the time. I see guys I've never heard of quarterback and play well during stretches and put up numbers sometimes. I mean, I see that all the time. Well, do you know how many starting quarterbacks we have every year in this league? We have like 60.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not going to take away from a good performance and then take away from a bad performance. I'm going to call it what it is.
We just don't have to. We don't have to act like the Tennessee performance was Hall of Fame worthy, nor do we have to act like last week was you don't belong in the NFL worthy.
No, God, no. What if you were going to grade it? Because that's the easiest thing to do. What are you going to grade it? I'm just trying to be honest and normal here. Yeah,
I'd say a D. C-, D.
I would have given it a C, C-, somewhere in there. But I'm always going to grade on a curve ahead of you.
That's Kevin Stefanski, Ivy League grade inflation, Kenny. That's very sad that you have to stoop. No, that's fine. C-, whatever. I'm not giving it an F. Because
No.
those throws to Bond were great. The throw to Judy, as we previously discussed.
Should have been a touchdown. And had it have been a touchdown, well, I think we probably think a little bit differently.
You start the game on the 1 yard line. We do have to grade with a curve.
Exactly. And I don't think that he was set up for success. All that stuff. You tell me that's not true. Tell me that he was set up for success.
No.
Exactly, because you can't say it. So if he's not set up for success,
I'd say the Raiders game,
I'm going to grade on a curve
like
for
the
him.
Raiders game, he was set up for success. The defense
he was.
dominated, but he was. But he also what was that the first start? Like, so you have to take that into consideration too. But like the game against the Raiders, holy cow! Like, you were given great field position the whole game. The defense just gave them no shot of moving the football. And that was served up for you on a silver platter, and he did just enough to win the game.
But I don't think that I need to be mean-spirited towards him or say things I don't believe just so I make sure that they get Fernando Mendoza. I've just accepted that if they're in the position to take that guy, they're going to take that guy, and that we all need to accept that they will. Until they prove different, I'm just assuming that they're going to take him. So get ready for another part where you hold your breath on this. But for him, it's not an anti-Shedeur thing. I can look at it and say, yeah, there was some struggling there yesterday or on Sunday. But there was also a lot of things that I just don't think he was in a good position because you were playing on a bad team in Week 15. And when I have to put red all over the depth chart because of guys who are supposed to be starting that are out, well, yeah, you're going to have a lot of things going against you. And it makes it harder to evaluate, which if it makes it harder to evaluate and you can't get that much of an evaluation, I think that an NFL franchise is going to go more on a quote-unquote sure thing. That's why you would move forward. It's not about being... It's not about pushing narratives. It's about trying to be as fair as I possibly can.